You were talking about bacon on the campaign trail.
Of course. of course.
Those things, when do consumers actually get to touch and feel a difference in their lives?
Well, Margaret, how does bacon get to the grocery store? It comes on trucks that are fueled by diesel fuel. If the diesel's way too expensive, the bacon's going to become more expensive.
Well, this is a country founded by immigrants.
Well, this is a country founded by...
This is
This is
a unique country.
a very unique country, and it was founded by some immigrants and some settlers. But just because we were founded by immigrants doesn't mean that 240 years later that we have to have the dumbest immigration policy in the world. We absolutely cannot unleash thousands of unvetted people into our country.
These people
it's
are
not
vetted.
Good.
These people are vetted.
Just like the guy who planned a terrorist attack in Oklahoma a few months ago.
What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, and here we have a reporter melting down live on air. I don't know, I guess probably these woke reporters have been kind of out of practice because, well, they had Joe Biden the last 4 years, so they didn't even ask him any questions. Not that he was even available for them, but the fact that they thought JD Vance was going to be a soft target. I'm not exactly sure what to say about this. They thought JD Vance was going to be a soft target or something like that. This went about as bad as it possibly could have. And you have Bill Maher admitting that Donald Trump is cool now. It's like their worst nightmare because the left has always viewed themselves as the cool ones. I want to take a couple looks at a couple different clips where CBS is trying to gotcha JD Vance. And he is just too good. He's like young Trump. I mean, Trump is his own man. But, you know, if we get 4 years of Vice President Vance shredding these dorks, like, he should win in 2028 in a landslide if he runs.
And now that we know that we have vetting problems.
So let's start with this. Vice President JD Vance tore into CBS journalist Margaret Brennan as she repeatedly questioned him over the decision to suspend the Afghan refugee program. I don't have an issue whatsoever with suspending that. By the way, right now, America's full. Sorry, not sorry. America's full. And, when we can figure out how to vet these people, maybe, and even then, I'm on the net zero immigration policy for, let's just give it 20 years. We've had wide open borders for 2,000 years. Let's just shut it down for 20 and see what happens. During the talk which aired on Sunday morning, Vance vehemently defended Trump's decision to cut off the program while also putting Brennan in her place, as she said that the Oklahoma man who plotted an election day bad attack in October was a very particular case. So I don't know if you guys knew this, but there was an Afghan refugee that was vetted by the U.S. government that was then arrested for planning an attack on election day. I mean, I'm going to pull up this. First of all, here, this is probably the better clip. Check this out.
Well, Margaret, I don't agree that all these immigrants or all these refugees have been properly vetted. In fact, we know that there are cases of people who allegedly were properly vetted and then were literally planning terrorist attacks in our country. That happened during the campaign, if you may remember. So clearly not all of these foreign nationals have been properly vetted.
But there are 30,000 people in the pipeline.
Oh, but there's 30,000 people. You know what? You ask any American if they are willing to take a 1 in 30,000 chance of getting caught up in one of these attacks, or a 0% chance. Now, are there people in this country now that will probably carry out these attacks over the next 4 years? Yep. They crossed while the border was wide open under sleepy Joe Biden. Borders are Kamala Harris. They're in this country now. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. Sleeper cells, okay? Most likely. But you ask any American if they would like to increase the odds by even something as minuscule as 1 in 30,000. I'm going to guess you're going to get a close to a 0% of 0% of anyone willing or wanting to take that risk.
Afghan refugees.
But my primary
Do you stand by
concern
it?
as the vice president, Margaret, is to look after the American people. And now that
So
we
no.
know that we have vetting problems with a lot of these refugee programs, we absolutely cannot unleash thousands of unvetted people into our country.
These
It's
people are
not
vetted.
good.
These people are.
These people are vetted. She just keeps saying they're vetted. Nope. You have to go back. If you don't like the Taliban ruling over you, overthrow them. All right? You have to go back. Sorry, not sorry.
Vetted.
Just like the guy who planned a terrorist attack in
Yeah.
Oklahoma a few months ago, he was allegedly properly vetted, and many people in the media and the Democratic Party said that he was properly vetted. Clearly he
Yeah.
wasn't. I don't want my children to share a neighborhood with people who are not properly vetted and
Based. 100% based. This is why having a leader with young kids is important, because they care about the future more.
because I don't want it for my kids, I'm not going to force any other American citizens' kids to do that either.
No, and that was a very particular case. It wasn't clear if he was radicalized when he got here or while he was
Who cares? Oh wait, I forgot. I'm robbing JD.
living here.
I don't really
But
care, Margaret. I don't want that person in my country, and I think most Americans agree with me.
They do. They do. You see, this is fantastic. Based, preach. You know, politicians should be asked hard questions. But why does she have to be so smug and combative? Well, that's just what, look at her face. Like, that's fine. Because they can be as smug as they want. The American people don't agree with her. By the way, she probably lives in a high rise somewhere in New York or whatever. She doesn't live next to any of these Afghan migrants, and she wouldn't take any of them into her house either. The number one name last year in the United Kingdom of newborn children was Mohammed. I don't want that in America, and nobody does. Not one American wants that. What happens in the UK is a 5-year litmus test of what's going to happen in Canada and then happen in the United States. When Brennan asked VP if he stood by his statement, he made it to an outlet in August saying, I don't think we should abandon anybody who's been properly vetted and actually helped us. Vance immediately clarified, well, Margaret, I don't agree that these immigrants or all these refugees have been properly vetted. In fact, we know that that's not the case. Ahmed Twahedi, 27, of Oklahoma City, who confessed to investigators that he had in fact planned an attack to coincide with Election Day. But there are 30,000 people in the pipeline. The pipeline. I'm good on that. I'm 100% good on anybody else coming into this country for the next 20 years. And spending the next 20 years deporting everybody who shouldn't be here. And rooting out these sleeper cells. And rooting out the criminals that shouldn't be here. I care less about the hardworking family that snuck across the border and are now, productive members of society. They have no criminal record other than illegally crossing the border. I'll worry about them later. Shut down the border and get rid of the criminals and the Terrys and all this kind of stuff. And then we'll worry about them. And if they get deported, then so be it. And then you see here, even an additional clip. She tries to nail JD Vance for not lowering the prices after not having eggs come down in price. This is one of the left's talking points. You see that moron Harry Sisson saying this a lot. Well, Trump's been president for 48 hours, and how come prices haven't come down yet? I say to that, so you admit prices are high. Let's see how this works out for her.
things you experience at the grocery store, what people touch and feel. That's what you were talking about, bacon on the campaign trail.
Of course. of course.
Those things, when do consumers actually get to touch and feel a difference in their lives?
Well, Margaret, how does bacon get to the grocery store? It
Yeah.
comes on trucks that are fueled by diesel fuel. If the diesel's way too expensive, the bacon's going to become more expensive. How do we grow the bacon? Our farmers need energy to produce it. So if we lower energy prices, we are going to see lower prices for consumers, and that is what we're trying to fight.
I mean, just epically owned. It's been 5 days, and he and Donald Trump and JD Vance have gotten more done than Joe Biden did in 4 years. Like, I don't care. See, we've never really had a great vice president before. I don't know about before my lifetime, but I would agree in my lifetime, no, we haven't. I feel fully cared for and represented by this administration. Another moment from J.D. Vance's epic I don't care Margaret exchange. I don't want that for my kids. I'm not going to force any other American. This is why we need young leaders who have kids. I agree with that. J.D. Vance embarked on his first trip as VP. He's headed to Damascus to meet with Hurricane Helene victims. Trump's first trip was also to visit Helene victims. Biden had basically forgotten about them. You see this, J.D. Vance called out the hypocrites who spent the last 4 years cashing out over $100 million in government checks. Look at this exchange.
But let me just address this particular issue, Margaret, because as a practicing Catholic, I was actually heartbroken by that statement. And I think that the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops needs to actually look in the mirror a little bit and recognize that when they receive over $100 million to help resettle illegal immigrants, are they worried about humanitarian concerns, or are they actually worried about their bottom line?
By the way, I'm pretty sure the Vatican has walls.
We're going to enforce immigration law. We're going to protect the American people.
Yeah.
Donald Trump promised to do that. And I believe the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, if they're worried about the humanitarian costs of immigration enforcement, let them talk about the children who have been sex trafficked because of the wide open border of Joe Biden.
You personally
let them talk
support them
about
going into
people like
schools
Laken
and
Riley who
churches.
were brutally murdered. I support us doing law enforcement against violent criminals, whether they're illegal immigrants or anybody else, in a way that keeps us safe.
This line of questioning just doesn't hit. It doesn't hit the same way anymore. Here you have him torching her on Damascus.
And this is, I think, one of the fundamental premises of President Trump's leadership. The American people should expect more of their government. When there's a terrible disaster, they should expect food, medicine, and water to get to the people who need it.
Agreed.
When there's a terrible fire in California, the fire hydrants ought to actually turn on. I am sick of the American people having such low expectations for their government. They should demand more of us because this is the greatest country in the world, and that's what Donald Trump's leadership promises to bring back. And
this guy is untouchable. Good morning. Try to have a better day than Margaret Brennan, who did this when she was interviewed yesterday. Look at her, the many faces. The many faces of getting absolutely crushed. Here's also him destroying the leftist narrative about immigrants.
Well, this is a country founded by immigrants.
No, it wasn't.
Well, this is a country founded by...
country.
This is a very unique country, and it was founded by some immigrants and some settlers, but just because we were founded by immigrants doesn't mean that 240 years later that we have to have the dumbest immigration policy in the world.
Look at her face. Oh my God, give me 12 years of this. Give me Trump just unleash. Here's what I think Trump's plan should be: to just unleash J.D. Vance on the media. Let J.D. Vance do as many interviews as he wants to remind the American people that the media is their enemy, and then usher him in 2028 and give us 12 years of J.D. Vance Trump policies. You can get a lot done in 12 years. You know, we haven't had a good run of presidents in a row in a long time. You know, we're switching around, we're doing this, we're doing that. You know, one thing here, then you had Trump in for 4 years, then Biden undoes it. You know, you have Bush in, who wasn't great either, and then we've had strings of bad presidents. But give me Trump into J.D. Vance, please and thank you. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like on it. We'll talk to you again real soon.